From Boston, this is WEBN News.
Hello and welcome to WEBN Political Pulse. I'm Kerrigan Knowles.
And I'm Ashley Ibarra. We begin the show with today's top political stories.
A White House aide that has first-hand knowledge of the Ukraine call testified in the impeachment hearings. Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman said he had no hesitation in reporting the call because he believes it was his duty. Vindman says he found President Trump's request improper and inappropriate. His testimony provides evidence of a quid pro quo deal between Presidents Trump and Zelensky. Vindman testified that he reported his concerns about the July 25th call and a July 10th meeting through the appropriate channels.
Because this is America. This is the country I've served and defended, that all of my brothers have served, and here, right matters.
A Manhattan judge has allowed a defamation suit against the president to proceed. Summer Zervos, a former contestant on The Apprentice, accused Trump of sexually assaulting her in 2007. She claims he assaulted her on 2 different instances. Once in New York City, he kissed her twice on the lips. In the other incident, she alleged that Trump kissed her aggressively and touched her in Beverly Hills. Trump has denied both allegations. Zervos filed for suit in January 2017. She claims Trump defamed her following her October 2016 public statement.
A senior White House policy advisor has directed editorial coverage at far-right news sites. Emails released Tuesday show that Stephen Miller was in contact with the Breitbart editor in an effort to shape its immigration coverage. Emails previously released indicated that Miller promoted stories from white nationalists to Breitbart staffers. The stories Miller suggested to Breitbart staff were often reported on and placed prominently on the site. The White House claimed the release of the emails were part of anti-Semitic attack against Miller. However, the White House has not responded to Miller's involvement with Breitbart.
We now go to our international correspondent, Isha Marate.
What do you have for us, Isha?
There seems to be no rest for Hong Kong protesters. On Monday, hundreds of activists armed themselves with firebombs and bows and arrows to battle riot police in their most violent clash yet. Early Monday, police tried storming the university campus of student protesters. After a days-long siege, they entered the university and started making arrests. But the occupiers fought back, and not just with their fists. They set barricades on fire, forcing the police to retreat. The police used tear gas, rubber bullets, water cannons, and armored vehicles after nearly a week of the fiery standoff. The confrontation went on late into Sunday night when a police officer was shot in the leg with an arrow, and protesters suffered hypothermia from the water cannons. The most disruptive week in Hong Kong since the month-long protests comes just a week before the elections in the territory. At least 6 people are dead in Iran after gas prices hiked up, and protests became violent on Saturday. The government decided midnight the day before to cut gasoline subsidies to fund handouts for Iran's poor. The decision led not only to fury from Iranians, but also added to the strain to American economic sanctions. The Iran government disrupted internet and cell phone services to deter people from organizing, which further angered the protesters. The director of Iranian nonprofit Net Freedom Pioneers said, "Oppression can then exist in a vacuum without on-the-ground solidarity or accountability." Protests erupt in Iran every few years. The last one was in 2017 and resulted in 25 deaths and 5,000 arrests. Banks are closed this week in Lebanon. Why? To protect their employees from angry customers. After a month of mass protests against Lebanon's political elite for corruption, the country's economic problems are disrupting daily lives of citizens. American dollars have grown scarce in Lebanon because of worries over the political turmoil, causing the Lebanese people to withdraw their dollars all at once. Now, the ATMs are refusing to give out dollars regardless of how much people have in their accounts. Lebanese economists say relief looks out of sight because these problems have been building up for decades.
Louisiana Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards has been reelected. Edwards narrowly defeated Trump-backed Republican Eddie Rispone. Rispone had support from President Donald Trump, who held 2 rallies in Louisiana over the past 10 days, trying to get Rispone elected. Edwards won the election by a little over 40,000 votes. This is the second Democratic gubernatorial victory in the red state this month, coming after a Democratic victory in Kentucky.
And as for the president, God bless his heart.
A new poll shows Pete Buttigieg as the new front-runner in Iowa. The mayor of South Bend, Indiana, holds a clear lead in the first-in-the-nation caucus state. A new CNN poll shows a 16-point increase in support for Buttigieg since a September CNN poll, with Buttigieg now at 25%. Behind him, there is a close 3-way battle for second, with Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren at 16% and former Vice President Joe Biden and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders both at 15%.
You know, starting with Labor Day, I felt a level of energy at the steak fry that told us that we had a chance to really connect. I think the debates have served us well. Our speech at the dinner recently was another chance just to lay out what I think so many Iowans and so many Americans are looking for. And that is leadership that can deliver big, bold answers to our problems and do it in a way that unifies, not polarizes the American people.
We're going to take a quick break.
But stick around to find out who will be in the next Democratic debate.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Sometimes the things we do or say can make others feel hurt, excluded, or isolated. Everything you say and do creates an impact.
How am I supposed to save the whole world?
You can't think about saving the world. You have to think about saving one person.
Because of you, someone's entire life can change. You don't have to be a superhero to have a positive impact.
Friends?
Friends.
Did you know bicyclists are often injured by vehicle doors opening into their path? To prevent hitting a cyclist with a car door, drivers should use their right hand to open the door, which forces them to look back over their shoulders so they can see people approaching on bicycles. Passengers should do the same using their left hands in case someone is riding a bicycle to the right of the vehicle. This simple safety procedure is an important step in keeping our roads safe. Remember, scan the street for wheels and feet.
Welcome back to WEBN Political Pulse. Joe Biden is leading in New Hampshire. A new Quinnipiac University poll shows the former vice president is in the lead for the Democratic presidential nomination in the Granite State. Biden stands at 20% with Senator Elizabeth Warren closely behind with 16% and Mayor Pete Buttigieg at 15%. This is the first major poll showing Biden in the lead in New Hampshire. There are fewer than 100 days to go until the New Hampshire's first-in-the-nation primary.
Former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg plans to spend $100 million on anti-Donald Trump ads. These ads would be prominent in key 2020 battleground states, including Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. The ad blitz spurs from Bloomberg's moves towards a presidential bid for the Democratic presidential nomination. The ads will not feature Bloomberg himself and will run until the end of the primary season. He has not yet announced a final decision on whether to enter the Democratic primary race.
10 presidential candidates qualify for the next Democratic debate in November. Some of the candidates taking the stage are Joe Biden, Cory Booker, Andrew Yang, and Kamala Harris. The Democratic National Committee raised the qualifying thresholds for the debates. This means former Housing and Urban Development Secretary Julian Castro did not qualify. Castro reached the donor requirement, but not the polling. A spokesperson for Castro says, quote, Secretary Castro is shipping the debate regardless of whether he's on stage, end quote.
A new super PAC plans to help Cory Booker gain traction in the Democratic race for president. The super PAC is called United We Win. They plan to spend $1 million over the next month to ensure Booker makes the December debate. The group is supported by Jersey-based Democratic donors and consultants in close relationship to Booker. Booker has previously stated that he would reject any help from a super PAC. However, it is not clear if he would reject this boost, particularly from a group steered by close allies.
Senator Elizabeth Warren has released her plan to fund Medicare for all. In the proposal, the Democratic presidential candidate pledges there will be no new taxes for the middle class. Warren's campaign says the plan will cost $20.5 trillion over a decade. State and local governments will continue to be required to spend the $6 trillion they now spend on programs like Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program. Warren's plan also assumes under a Medicare for All system, there would be significant reductions in health care spending and prescription drug prices.
Kentucky Republican Governor Bevin conceded defeat on Thursday to Democratic State Attorney General Andy Beshear. This concession was a result of Bevin's request of all 120 counties in the state to recheck the results from the previous gubernatorial election. Beshear received 5,136 more votes than Bevin, according to Kentucky Secretary of State Allison Lundergan Grimes. Beshear said at a news conference he appreciated Bevin's concession, which he noted came quickly after the recanvass. This Democratic victory in Kentucky could predict how the 2020 re-election bid for the current president will go.
And obviously I was disappointed to lose the governor's race in Kentucky. But if you look at everything else that happened in Kentucky, we did really well. Our candidates won by very large margins. The governor had his own set of challenges. In spite of that, he made it close, but close only counts in horseshoes.
Now for the latest in Washington, we go to our White House correspondent, Luis Mercado.
What do you have for us, Luis?
White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grissom said that is not true, that President Trump's visit to the doctor on Saturday was anything other than the typical routine physical exam. Grissom said, quote, "He is healthy as he can be. I put a statement out about that. He's got more energy than anybody in the White House. That man worked from 6 a.m. till, very, very late at night. He is doing just fine," end quote. Trump had his first annual physical as president in January 2018 and a second in February 2019. Trump's doctors said his health was very good after those exams. Ken Cosellini is expected to be placed in the number 2 post at the Department of Homeland Security. Chad Wolf, the incoming acting Homeland Security Secretary, selected him for the post. Tsoukalis is the acting U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services chief. His new role in the department will give him greater control over immigration policies. The deputy position traditionally handles manageable tasks, but with the new appointment, that is expected to change. President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and other senior administration officials are planning to set up webcams to live stream the construction of the president's border wall. This idea, originally proposed by Kushner, has objections from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and senior U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials. Kushner says the 24-hour wall coverage is part of the administration's effort to demonstrate evidence of progress. White House officials and the president have also been eager to share photos and videos and even aerial footage of the wall's progress.
Thank you, Luis. Stay tuned for an update on the Boston City Council recount.
We'll be right back.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
You can achieve a lot using your imagination. I mean, I don't like to brag, but... Wait, who's that? And why is she all over these achievement awards? But with STEM, the sky's the limit.
Shaboom!
Use STEM to envision.
Okay, I'm seeing it. Yeah.
Invent.
Got any ideas?
I've got a few, actually. And create a better world.
Told you she's super smart.
If she can STEM, so can you. Find out more at She Can STEM.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Queen is just my everything.
His smile did it. His smile, his eyes, his knowledge. My landlord, he decided that he wanted me to move based on the fact that I was transgender. Let's just respect people in everyday life for just being human.
Welcome back to WEBN Political Pulse.
Boston City Council will recount election votes. The city is recounting after final results showed an 8-vote difference for the 4th and final city council at-large seat. First-time candidates Alejandra St. Gillen and Julia Mejia petitioned for an outside firm to oversee recounts of all of the city's 22 wards. The elections board had counted 68 provisional and absentee ballots that were not counted. Those votes placed Mejia in the lead from 5 votes to 8. The recount could take weeks, and both candidates are hoping to be the first Latina appointed in the council.
The Massachusetts State House Committee has reached an agreement on distracted driving legislation. This proposal would restrict the use of handheld cell phones while driving and update existing laws regarding racial profiling by law enforcement. The House bill would require officers to record the racial data only when a warning or citation is issued. The two bills were sent to a House-Senate Conference Committee to work out their differences.
Some California voters are rejecting former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick. Patrick attended the California Democratic Party's fall endorsing convention after launching a last-minute presidential campaign. Multiple attendees were annoyed to see Patrick. Pat Todd Smith says, quote, "I'm not going to vote for him because I don't know anything about him," end quote. Another attendee named Steve Young says, quote, "I'm not sure why we need another candidate at this late date," end quote. Patrick is expected to speak at other Democratic events across the United States.
A federal grand jury is investigating accusations of overtime fraud in the Boston Police Department. The investigation is focused on 3 officers who worked in the department's evidence unit and centers on allegations that these officers did not work their full 4-hour overtime shifts. Records show these 3 officers all collected significant overtime in 2018. This is not the first time the city agency has faced fraud and theft allegations. According to Police Department spokesman Sergeant Detective John Boyle, the 3 officers are on paid administrative leave as the investigation continues.
That is all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you for watching.
We'll see you next time on WEBN Political Pulse.